mentioned though that you had just recently played a gig. Uh, so,
Yeah.
I'm interested to know, like, during with all that's going on, like how that came about, and where it was, and just kind of like, yeah, the whole, like, the
How
story.
it works. Yeah. So, um, we had gigs that got canceled as well as everybody else because COVID. And then Kyle and I, we're an acoustic duo. We're called EK for Elaina and Kyle. It's cute, right? Um, but I play piano and sing, and then he plays guitar and sings. And we play at a place called the Painted Horse Winery. It's in Milton. It's super nice. And we've played there a handful of times. It's kind of a steady gig for us. We love playing there. The lady who owns it, Pam, is the best. And so she reached out to us and she asked if we would play on Saturday. She asked us like 2 weeks ago. And, we were really hesitant about doing that because we wanted people to come and feel comfortable, but also we didn't want to play if nobody was going to be there, and we didn't know if we were safe being out. So we found out more information and we decided to go with it. So basically they have a huge outdoor area. So Kyle and I were up on the stage pretty much the whole time. And then how it's set up anyway is people bring their own chairs and they bring their own food, and then they just buy their wine there. So it was already an environment that was going to be safe and people would feel comfortable. Now, I still have friends who didn't come, but honestly, there were probably about 100 people who turned out.
Wow.
Which is the most they've ever had in the ever.
How do
I think
that people were spaced out, or were people
yeah.
spaced out?
So people came in groups. Of anywhere from like 2 to like 7 people, and they literally just clumped off and did their own thing. And then like one person would go get wine and they'd have a mask on, and there was hand sanitizer everywhere. So it was an environment that made it able for people to feel safe and for people to social distance. And you didn't have to get wine either. Like you could just come, stay in your pocket for the 3 hours we played and then leave, which some people did. And like we had some people who sat in masks, other people who didn't. So I felt safe in that environment, and I feel like a lot of other people did too.
Great. And how was the reception? How was the turnout? Was it people you'd seen and you had seen like going there before, or like was it
So
having a live
honestly,
show, like, I could imagine it was exciting for people to like be out and be able to see music.
music is so incredibly important to us as human beings, in the sense of you can't go in a store where there's not music playing. Even if there's no music playing, it's weird, right? There are people on the street playing music. There's music in movies. There's music in TV shows. We put music on at parties. It's just one of those things where music has to be everywhere. And so people, I think, also crave to be in the presence of music sometimes. And so half the people who were there, we didn't know. We had no idea who they were. And the other half were our really close friends who turned out. And I had a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, we're not comfortable coming. And I was like, that's totally cool. But we had other people who showed out for us. And it was really neat to see all of their support. And just, I don't know, a lot of people seemed like they were just itching to get out.
Right.
So
right.
I think that helped.
Well, I'm interested in this just because one, it's great that like there's still a way for live music to happen like during this time, and I've been having this question with a lot of people that like I've talked to a couple of artists, and uh, you know I've also talked to the marketing manager at Smith's Little Bar, and kind of like the question of uh, how do you see coronavirus kind of like changing the landscape of affecting, or what could be done with music right now, where like you could have a show. It's kind of like along the lines of just like how coronavirus is affecting long term, and like how what can be done during this time. And so it's interesting that you kind of like have this experience, um, and also one question that 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 I wrote down was, for artists right now who are kind of looking for what to stay busy with. This is a topic that's been brought up before, where musicians and artists are trying to find something to do that's worthwhile, or like have like what they're doing like be heard, be seen. And so, what advice do you have like for musicians right now that are maybe looking to like try to have what they are working on, or give inspiration to finish what they're working on right now, so that it can get seen and heard?
Yeah. Um, I think it's incredibly important to keep yourself surrounded by artists and musicians. Group chat and I don't know, I guess Zoom calls because that's the thing now. Um, in some way, I think it's important to keep yourself within the world of music, within the world of the arts, and so supporting each other. Or I have a friend; she's an artist. She draws all the time, and so she's been posting doodles, bringing inspiration to people because it's so important that we stay connected as human beings because that's like a huge part of who we are.
Right.
But I think just to keep in contact with people, but also a lot of people do live streams or like post little videos, and so people are able to comment or be inspired. I watched somebody's video the other day, and I don't even remember who it was. I watched someone's do a cover of a song, and I thought, oh my gosh, I love that song too. And so I ended up recording another song. But also, Kyle and I have been in contact a lot about music stuff. And so we've started our own YouTube page as EK, and Instagram and Facebook. And we actually went out and recorded some songs in the great outdoors is what we're calling it, right? Because there's nobody around, and it's so beautiful outside these days. And so we recorded a couple songs, so it's kind of a series that we're doing right now. So doing something different, right? So music is still here, art is still here. And you're still here, with new things to inspire you. So it's taking the time to figure out what you're going to do that's different, and just kind of running with that.
Yeah. So you mentioned going out and into kind of like going outside and like and recording. So are you recording together, recording separate, and kind of and mixing like the tracks together, or like how are you doing this?
So we record together because we've both been in quarantine and we've both been, taking care of ourselves. But we didn't record for like a month and a half into everything that was going on. So we meet up and record. But another friend of mine, Riley Schatz, who is an amazing artist as well. She's just amazing. She's a singer-songwriter as well. She's done a lot of live streams. She's really inspiring because she's somebody who's seriously kept up her art during this time. And but with her, I collabed with her, and so she sent me one of her songs of her playing guitar and singing, and so I sang harmonies over it, and then she edited it, and like the little movies played side by side. That's like a thing that a lot of people are doing right now. But it's that same idea of staying in an environment and staying connected with your musician friends, and you just keep inspiring each other too.
Well, awesome. Now, like, and you mentioned, working with Kyle, and like, I definitely want to get more into that and kind of go like how that came about. But first, like, I'd like to get a sense of like kind of like how you personally kind of like developed and how you got into music, and where your kind of like passions grew out of.
Okay. So I was born into an artsy family. I was
That definitely helped.
um, both my parents were theater majors. They met in the theater department at NC State, fell madly in love, and then got married. And I have an older brother, then there's me, and then there's my younger brother. We were raised by parents who loved us so much. I grew up in a Christian household. We were always in church. I was always singing in church, and I didn't know any different than singing in church or like doing little skits in church or being involved in VBS. Like I thought that that's what everybody did. We was really bad at sports. Didn't like the conflict, like the confrontation of like coming. No, I was not the target audience, but I was very, very shy. right? So I was doing all this music stuff. My first performance was in preschool, and I gotta find the picture, but I played a Rudolph of some sorts. And I get on stage, and I walk out to the middle of the stage, and I look down. And I look down at the ground the entire performance. I don't sing, I don't dance. And my parents, they said that they looked at each other like, this is not our child. This is not our child. She's like just standing there. So it wasn't until high school that I really became confident in performing in front of people. And the school that I was going to, the lady who was in charge of our drama department really encouraged me to sing. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And the only reason I ended up on stage is because I was on crew. We were doing A Christmas Carol. I was on crew, and they needed another girl on stage for some scene. And it was like a comedic role. And I thought, oh, great. I have to be funny and be on stage. It's going to suck. And then I got on stage, and you catch what people call the theater bug. It's definitely a thing. Definitely a thing.
Yeah.
So I caught it. And then I went on to do musical theater. So I was Maria in The Sound of Music, and I was Marion Hill and The Music Man, and did various singing. And so I did a lot of acting as well. I was Josephine and Little Women. But I realized that I loved to sing. Singing was so important to me. So at all the little talent shows that they had, I would play guitar and like sing my little song.
But you know, that's really interesting how you're a musician now, but it started as you kind of getting coaxed on stage to do acting, and through there, like you found kind of like what you're doing right now. So, but
Right.
so when did when did like instruments like start coming into like the mix?
So my grandma started teaching me piano when I was like 5. So piano was always in my life. It came and went. I didn't really love it. I liked it and I understood it, but I didn't really enjoy it until I was 13 and I moved to Georgia. And that's when I really started taking piano lessons and guitar lessons. And I fell in love with piano and everything that it was. And so I took lessons for a couple years, and then we moved to Texas when I was 15. And then I took a little break from music again because I was going through a lot as a person. And so I just kind of shut down totally. And then when I was about 16, music came back into my life. And it was like slapping me in the face. It's like, music, you need to do this. So that's when I started writing songs that I now share with people on piano and then some on guitar. And then at the same time, I started doing theater. So doing theater at the same time as doing music, I think was helpful because it slowly gave me courage to play. So the first time that I officially played an original song in front of people, I was 18. It was at the University of North Texas because I went there for 2 years. I was going to do this again and I totally don't remember. I went there for 2 years. Go Mean Green. That's what it was. So I went there so I was accepted into a songwriting competition. I sent in my video of 2 of my songs and I was accepted. Only 5 of us were accepted out of, now UNT is a music school. There are 36,000 students. And they're known for their music and their jazz. And it blew my mind that as a little 18-year-old who knew nothing, that I got this opportunity. And it was so great. So I went and performed my songs, 2 of my songs live, which I had never done before. They're up on YouTube if you want to go find them. Baby Elaina at 18 with like light brown hair. But it was, I will never forget the moment of people listening to me, you know, because I was shy, even though I was on stage in high school. I didn't know who I was, and I didn't feel confident in what I had to say because I was very sad all the time. And so my songs were sad, which I didn't realize they were sad until somebody pointed it out. I was like, I'm just writing a song, and they're like, this is really sad. It's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry they're sad. But I couldn't
to be vulnerable and channel your emotions.
Yeah, and that moment of being in that song is something that will just always be in my mind. And my real friends were there and my family was there and they were so supportive, and I ended up getting second place. So I didn't win, but that's okay.
Before this, we were talking you're mentioning like the different instruments that you play, how you uh, came to learn those, learning from your grandma who taught you. But I was interested in, you play a lot of covers, and then you also play originals. I was I was interested in the sort of the inspirations that you have in those covers that you perform, and kind of how you put your own spin on them.
Yeah, so I like I put it on my profiles. I love stories, right? So I try to pick songs, and I try to pick little clips, like the little snippets of songs that tell a story. Um, I'm not gonna remember the name of it, but there was one I did a couple weeks ago that tells a story about how, I don't know, the lyrics snag me. So there's one about how the guy watched a TED Talk while they were on a break. He said, "Don't look through your photos." So he looked through the photos, and now he misses her, and like she used to fly halfway around the world for him, but now they can't even be in the same room. It's just such a great song, but it lyrics snag me. So if lyrically and melodically, if the melody is pleasing, or I just like it, that's what I like to cover. Because some pop songs or some other songs, if you break it down to an acoustic level, that's when you can see what the song's really about. And I feel like a lot of songs are not that great because they say the same thing like 7 times in a row, which
Right.
those songs have their place, right? But if you're going to strip it down to an acoustic version, there's no story.
Right, nowhere to kind of go, nowhere to lead people. So I get what you're saying. Like you want people to kind of like be led through, kind of like kind of. And I don't want to just repeat the word story, but kind of just lead people through. You're telling like a narrative. You're
Right.
yeah.
Because like some of these songs are memories for people. I mean, in my songs, a lot of my songs are written from actual experiences. So they're memories that you take a picture and then you put it in a song. So I'm able to play old songs, and it's like going back to a different time.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I think is very interesting about like the way you present kind of everything, because even your website feels like it's like a snapshot, like and kind of the way it's always like you're. I know Instagram is like minute long anyway, but like even your website, you have kind of like snippets of like the songs you perform, and so like that it's kind of the whole like it's kind of like a snapshot image of kind of like of the greater thing. So what went into the design of your website and kind of like the cover of your album?
Yeah, so I recorded that album, oh my gosh, 4 or 5 years ago. And
Yeah.
it took me 2 years to work up the courage to post it. 2 years it took because I didn't think it was any good, you know? I think art is supposed to be shared. And so I went to Ireland and studied abroad there, which is a whole other story. It changed my life. And I came back and I said, yeah, music. And so that's when I posted it. So my cousin, Brian Anderson, actually created that for me, but I wanted something to do with a bird. So my whole life, my nickname was Bird, and I don't know, it just kind of stuck. My grandma still calls me that. My dad still calls me that. And so I don't know, I'd always related to a bird. And so I wanted that on the album cover. And I entitled it Me because those 6 songs, if you want to know what Elaina was going through her freshman year of college, that's what, those are about me. Those are about people not wanting you, people not understanding you, me not understanding other people, because I was homeschooled too. So that was a whole other challenge to get through, starting college, being in a huge college.
Right.
And so with the
Like
art, I want to
going to class with people that were used to like the normal like school system, and also you went from because did you move to Texas, or were you here and you went to North Texas or you were in Texas because of college?
I moved. So I've moved a lot. I was born in Raleigh, lived there for like 2 years, went up to Pennsylvania, lived outside of Pittsburgh for 10 years, moved a couple times there. Then I came down to Johns Creek, Georgia for 2 years. Then we went to Texas for 5 years. So I moved to Texas when I was 16. So I graduated high school. I went to like a school for homeschoolers there. Did 2 years there, graduated. Then I went to UNT for 2 years. And then I was like, Texas is not my environment. So I looked everywhere and I visited colleges, and I ended up at KSU because I just fell in love with the campus and I was like, this is where I want to be. So that's where I went for 3 years and finished out my degree. Yeah, but okay, album art cover. Sorry, I'm like, so purple. I also went purple because lilac was always my favorite color. And I don't know, I felt like this color, blue and lavender, like, I don't know, the colors of my soul, if I can be that cheesy. So, and I wanted my website to match my album cover because that came first. But I'm also kind of obsessed with black and white because if it's black and white, it forces you to pay attention to what's happening.
Yeah, it's a very interesting like pairing of colors and shapes, and then also like fonts. I think like and kind of what that it really I wrote down it's while it's never good to like judge a book by its cover, like that album cover really to kind of like give a good sense of like what the material on the album like is really saying. It's a good representation of what that album kind of like sounds like and like feels like. Did you do the painting on the front cover, or was that
No, so that wasn't Brian Anderson. He does graphic novels, and he does Dog Eat Doug for the newspaper. It's like a comic strip, but he's also working on a bunch of stuff. He's a phenomenal artist. And so I asked him, I said, I want watercolor and I want these colors. And so I sent him some pictures of what I liked. And then he just kind of made a couple different versions. And that was the one that I just fell in love with. It spoke to my soul. But I wanted something gentle. I didn't want it to be me. Even though it was me, I didn't want it to be that. So I made it a bird, which was kind of me. But people, now they know. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, so hold on. I kind of sifting through this.
You're good.
Yeah. So what for anyone that's like obviously you're working on new content, but from that album, what's your favorite song? And like if someone's like trying to if there's a song that you could recommend, like what's one that you would try to like direct someone to if they're trying to like get a sense of like your sound?
Yeah, so I love Can't You See Me, but the fan favorite is A City for a Name. It is the fan favorite. I don't know, I didn't think it was gonna take off like it did, and it did. And all my friends request it when I'm playing out, and somebody I know is there, they're like, City for a Name, which I've come to just love that song.
Which, by the way, and I can edit this out. Do I know the person?
No.
Okay.
So the best part about A City for a Name is everyone thinks it's about them.
Okay.
It's about a guy I knew in high school.
Oh.
His name was the name of a city we lived right next to, and I'm like, that's dumb. Who would do that? He was like born in that city and then got that name.
Okay.
And it just blew my mind. And I mean, it's about him. It's about a guy that I really, really liked when I was 16.
Okay.
I wanted him to like me back so badly, and he just,
Because there is someone else that I know, and I'm not trying to name names, but that also has the name of a city. So, okay.
Yes, that's not who it is.
Okay.
Yeah. No, this is high school, Elaina. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So yeah. All right. I was just like, I feel like I'm just curious to know.
That's what makes the song so great, because everyone's like, oh my God, is that this person? Is that this person? I know someone like this. They have a city for a name. And it just kind of took off in a way I never could have imagined.
Yeah. Anyway, so how does what you're working on now compare or differ from what you did on Me?
So, um, consistency wise, I've tried to keep it honest, which is hard because sometimes, you realize you're really not that great, but that's okay
Hmm.
because then it gives you something. It shows you an area where you can grow. So, yeah, my most recent song is "Don't Date a Musician." Ta-da! A lot of my guitar songs are kind of quirky, so I wrote "A City for a Name" on a guitar. I wrote another song called "Personality," which isn't out there yet. It's somewhere on my Instagram, but it's about me. Now, I'm really not that great, but that's okay. Here are the things I know about myself. And then, just I feel as though I'm not as afraid to try things musically because I've grown a lot more in my musical knowledge. So I feel like there are a lot more layers musically to the music that I write now. I don't write what I write isn't nearly as sad as it used to be
Hmm.
because I'm just in a different place, right? So I feel like the music is growing with me, but I never had lessons on how to write a song. I didn't go to workshops. I didn't, watch YouTube videos. It just kind of happened.
Well, I think that there's two questions I want to ask here, and like first is kind of like the statement that I have from that is, when you're first trying to get material out, it's kind of like whatever's there, like that's going to be the first thing. It's music or art is kind of like a way to channel anything that's kind of like what you've got going on.
Yeah.
And I think like people who are sad are probably going to gravitate to music because like the melody can kind of like be make what makes it not. It's kind of like what can give whatever you're saying is sort of like like encapsulate it in a way, so it's not just you saying sad things to people. But the other, so the I guess the question that I have is, are you ever nervous now to be able to share like a song or share something that is personal to you? Do you have are you ever like nervous to release a song or release something, or like not sure, like, or is that something that through doing it, like you've got a sense of like this is me, and like this is kind of like the art that I produce?
Um, so I always question my quality because I don't know. Like if I like it, I don't
Yeah,
know if somebody else is gonna like it, right?
yeah.
So I figure if I just put my heart and soul into it and they don't like it, I can be like, well, I did my best, and I have nothing to be ashamed of. I am more nervous putting stuff out now because I don't know, more people listen and I write about people in my life. So I'm afraid I'm gonna upset somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I mean, I went through a really messy relationship 2 years ago. Got some of the best songs ever out of it. I have an EP of 6 songs about this person ready to go, and I'm so excited about it. And I am on the brink of getting to record it when Corona hit. So we're starting back up. We're gonna get that out there. But I played through the songs yesterday, all those songs that I had written about this guy, and like it's like you said earlier, when you putting your feelings into a song, gives you this idea of a photo. So that's really why I like to post snapshots, because when we're in a moment and you're like, this is great, click, you take a picture. And so this guy that I was dating ended up cheating on me and I had no idea. But before that, it was a relationship. He wasn't willing to commit to me because of this other girl. And then it was just a mess. And so I wrote a lot of songs to try and process what was happening because I didn't know what was happening. And so, but those are snapshots. And now I can look back. And at first it was really sad, of course. I was like, oh my God, this is what happened. But now I can look at it and be like, okay, but you did it, you made it through. And so maybe somebody else who's going through that kind of thing can listen to those songs and be inspired and know that they're going to be okay too. So that's why I do it. I want to inspire people and let them know that they're going to be okay.
Right, and I think that's something that can be very nerve-wracking. I've been watching, and this is something that kind of came up as you mentioned that, like, I've been watching the show, The Marvelous Miss Maisel,
Okay.
and it's about her becoming a comedian, and kind of like learning how to be truly authentic on stage, just trying to channel whatever is honestly going through her mind. And there's this Joel, the guy that she is married to, then then they get divorced, but like he starts out being like a comedian.
Okay.
Then she becomes it, and then it's sort of like she's doing bits about their relationship, and like he's like showing up, and then also it's like her family, like her parents are like showing up as she's doing bits about her like the quirks and like the things that like her dad and her mom like do. And it's kind of in the one sense, like, this is how I have to be in order to like be successful, and at the same time it's kind of like the worry of, the people that it's about are probably they're gonna hear it too. And it's sort of, but and I'm saying, like, I think it's like definitely very courageous, like, to be able to do this. And I think anyone, it kind of like puts you into any artist's shoes, that like any you know you know anything you write is going to be about someone. It's going to be about, and
Yeah.
all of this art, and we were, as we were talking about, is, it's, you're not talking always about the happy moments. You're talking about the things that happened.
Yeah.
And so it's like you have to be, there's only one way to be about anything that truly happened to you. And it's like, and it's the way that your your album cover and your website kind of like speaks about, like, all the, it's kind of, it's that feeling of when something is authentic, people believe it. It like, people will, there's something that's very, that people respect, when something like just feels real and authentic.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to be. All this messy up in here being authentic. Because it's important,
Yeah. Well, anyway, moving on. Like I mentioned before, I wanted to get into you're working with Kyle Van Royen.
Van Royen.
Sorry, I feel like I got that wrong even on this, but
it's okay. It's a weird Dutch friend.
We'll blame it on the Zoom, like, being frozen. Anyway, but how did that come about, and how has that helped change, like, and grown, like, you as an artist?
So he popped into my life a year ago. Wasn't expecting him. Came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to meet a guy who I could sing with and perform with, because over the years I love songwriting and performing, but singing is, if I could sing every day forever for the rest of my life and do nothing else, I'd be totally content. Mm-hmm. And so I always wanted somebody who was that inspired with an instrument and who was that talented, who would be able to, who would want to go perform with me, and who had the same drive that I did. And he just kind of popped into my life. So he's actually a drummer, like a phenomenal jazz fusion drummer. He went to AIM, did all that, but he also plays guitar and piano and bass, and now he sings. So he was just kind of a gift from above, and it was his idea. So I was trying to gig by myself, and I was scared. Let's be honest. I was scared, and I didn't know how to do it, how to get into it. And he was so incredibly encouraging, and the product that I have as who I am as an artist. And he wanted to play out with me, and I was like, okay, well, we got to learn some stuff. So then we just started spitballing about the music we knew. And I think our first gig was in August.
Hmm.
I don't remember. It was really bad. It was so bad. Everything about it. The sound wasn't working. The spot was crap. We were crap.
Isn't that how it always goes in the first run of something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I was thrilled that I was getting to perform. And at the end, he was like, "It was horrible." I'm like, no. So, honestly, this Saturday we had just had such an amazing time. But we've had to grow. So I've been working a lot with him in his vocal techniques. So I like to think of us as a really great team. So he wasn't much of a singer. He can sing, but he didn't love it, I guess is the way to say it. So I came along because I'm a voice teacher now for kids. So helped him out, and then he helped me out musically. He helped me, first of all, be confident, but then also he's challenging my musical knowledge, which is great. So we just kind of build each other up. And if someone had told me a year ago that I would meet a guy and we would end up playing out together and gigging, and he's also my boyfriend, so which is it's so amazing, and I feel so incredibly blessed that I get to do the thing that I love with the person that I love. I don't take that for granted, because for so many years I felt so alone, just as a human being, as we do sometimes. So I feel blessed that I get to do this with him. But yeah, he's super invested. He's the one who ordered all the equipment, and we pick songs together. So now I think we have 35 or 40 songs in our book. So our next step, yeah, I'm excited. We always take requests too. Not at the gig, but before the gig, so we can prep it and be ready. So our next goal is to add bass tunes. So I would play piano and he would play the bass. So, but that we're growing, and we're pitching to a lot of places to play out, because even though Corona's happening, a lot of places have their balconies open or their back areas open. And so they're having live music because people are ready to, get out.
Right. So. People have 35 songs written, and they need to play them.
Yeah, we gotta go. We're ready.
But yeah, that's cool. And that kind of started answering, the next question that I had, which is what plans, do you have for 2020 that's been affected?
Oh yeah.
So what did you have? Well, actually, I want to go back. So right, have y'all just spent all this time writing songs together? How's that process? How do you get to that many songs, since the performance that you said didn't go well, and now you're here with with all of these songs?
Yeah, so we only have probably 2 or 3 original songs, because a lot of the gigs want cover songs, right? So we focus on learning the cover songs, but we always sound like EK. We always sound like Elaina and Kyle when we play songs, and we've talked a lot about that, because we don't want to be a cover band, which there is a time and place for cover bands, and they're so great and I love them. But that's not, our goal is not that. Our goal is to be, we're an Atlanta-based acoustic duo who covers your favorite songs and strips them down so that you can hear the stories, and relate to them, and be shot back to a time when, you slow danced with somebody, or you rocked out in your car with your friends. And so those are the moments that, we're trying to provide for people. Some goals that we had that are just now starting back up. It's really hard to break into the music scene as a performer. And, there's so many places, but everybody's booked out, or you're not the sound that they want, or, you don't have enough experience. And so our goal is to create media so that people can watch our music and know what we sound like. That way they'll want to hire us more, and becoming more professional in the songs that we pick and how we present ourselves as well. So basically building up the EK image online, because media is so incredibly important these days. But then also making sure our musical chops match that. So we've been working really hard to be perfect on a song every time, but also as a personal goal, I wanted to have my song, it's called No Use Talking. It's in the works. I was planning on releasing it end of March, but that didn't happen because we couldn't finish recording it and fixing the harmonies and stuff like that. So, but hopefully in the next couple weeks, I'll get that back up and running, and then hopefully post that song, which is my song. But yeah, Kyle and I still have plans to write more music together because he has a lot of his own music that he's written, and then I have a lot of my music, and so putting our styles together has been really fun and interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of like one thing I wanted to ask is how like what his background brings to you and how it's kind of like helped blend and kind of like take what you've learned and like turn it into something different or something new. So what, and you may have answered this. So where does Kyle? You mentioned he was a drummer and
Yeah.
like a jazz drummer. So did he grow up? So is your music now a little more jazzy, or does it have like more like, jazz influence?
It's more complicated, it's the wrong word. It's more layered,
Hmm. Like
with rhythmic things because it's important to him. But the music we've written together is so cool because I think of myself as a very acoustic. It's about the story. It's about the snapshots, and he's more. Do you know Snarky Puppy?
no, I don't.
Okay, they're a jazz fusion band that is the best of the best, and so he's a huge fan of them. And so a lot of his stuff that Kyle writes is complicated and amazing. It literally blew my mind the first time I listened to it. And I'm more of it's about the melody, it's about the song. So I've kind of helped him in the sense of it's okay to like strip back all of the many pieces in a song and look at what it's really about. But then also he's helped me be able to go, okay, if you add this and add this, it's going to give it a fuller sound. So we've been able to really complement each other. But yeah, definitely more jazzy because I've been listening to more jazzy stuff too. So yeah,
Well,
we play a lot of jazzy stuff at the gigs.
well, when I worked at KSU, like there, like we would always do like we would film like the music, all the music events that were going on there. Like our favorites were always the jazz ones because they always had like
Yeah.
cool lights and they always like
Absolutely.
So that was always like our favorites. Um, so where do you hope where do you hope like to go with music? Like what like where do you hope it takes you? And like the venue's been playing. Like, are there any kind of like places you hope you have in mind that you would hope to play?
Um, I mean, for me, music is always about. It's not about being famous. It's not about people knowing me. I want to be able to do music so often and so frequently that I don't have to work another job. I want to be paid for music so that I don't have to do other things. I love coffee shops and that aesthetic. So when I do my solo stuff, that's where I want to go. And so I've actually performed at Crazy Love Coffee Shop in downtown Roswell. Oh,
Yeah,
so
yeah. That's seriously like my favorite coffee shop. I've got my best friend lives up in Cumming, and
yeah,
he has a sports production company that I go and like I film with if it were normal times.
yeah.
But I'm down here in Brookhaven, so when we meet halfway to like exchange gear, like that's where we go to meet for coffee because like I like the space, I like the table. There's that big table, or just like I just like the way light like comes in through like
The aesthetic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I just like the feeling of like being in there. So like definitely approve of Crazy Love Coffee.
I had the opportunity. They asked me to perform on Valentine's Day, and I told Kyle, I was like, oh my gosh, I have a gig on Valentine's Day. Is it okay if I take it? He's like, absolutely, go take the gig. Yeah. So he came and brought me flowers. It was really cute. So that's when dating a musician is nice because they totally understand the fact that you have a gig. So, but I had a gig that was going to be May 1st that got canceled at Crazy Love.
Yeah,
so
I remember you invited me to that, and like I was starting because like and I guess that was actually even before. Maybe it was I had something else that was going on that night. So because like this is even before coronavirus happened.
Yeah.
But like that was like one thing that I wanted to start doing like a lot more was because I was doing like all of this. I was starting to like really hit a like get into like building
Stride.
sports on like I was starting to get gigs like coming in like all the time. I was working with KSU athletics. I was working with for Atlanta United 2. I was shooting the like the College Park Skyhawks games, which are like the NBA like minor league games, and then like my friend's company. So I was getting stuff coming in all the time. So like what I wanted to start doing on like the days I had off was like going to see shows and going to like different, and also going out to different breweries, because now I'm working 4 nights making money. It's like I have 3 nights off. It's like I can start
You
going
can
out.
go do stuff.
That was the hope. That was the plan. And then it's like, well, everything kind of came crashing down. So it's like I'm doing. That's why I'm doing this right now, to like kind of keep to stay busy and keep
Yeah.
going. But yeah, but yeah, like I definitely support like kind of like all the things that you're doing to just kind of like keep it going, and like you know keep writing songs, and produce what you do, like, because it's what you do want to do for your career. So uh, that's kind of like where I'm at, and I'm sorry I kind of like had a whole spiel right there, like,
That
but
was great.
yeah, but what else, like, I'm kind of at like the end of my questions here, but what else would you like to kind of mention about any of your music, or just like any kind of like what you're working on, and like anything like that?
Well, maybe just an encouragement. I'll say a couple of things because I like to talk. Just kidding. First, an encouragement for people who are starting to write and are doubting themselves. Doubting yourself and what you write and what you create as an artist in general is part of the process. You're gonna write stuff and make stuff that's crap. That's just there are so many songs y'all are never gonna hear because they're really bad in my perspective, right? But it's those songs that are gonna make you better. It's that song that's gonna lead you to the next song, and you'll take pieces of this song to make another song. Same with your art, it can't all be fabulous, and that's okay. I think a lot of it is people put pressure on themselves that everything they make and everything they do has to be phenomenal. No, not true. I post videos sometimes where I mess up, and I do it on purpose because I think that that's part of it. I don't want to post a song that it's like super bad, but sometimes you miss a note. Sometimes you pluck the wrong string. That's just, I think that that's the beauty of creating. It's just going to happen.
Right. Yeah, and I think that there's something about art that is almost too polished, that I feel like doesn't, but like there's produced, and then there's some things that are just like, wow, that was produced. But then there's
Yeah.
those things where part of the enjoyment is kind of is because like it's because you can sense an artist editing something, or like doing this, like, should I add this, should I do this, should I have this note, no that note. And it's kind of when something I feel like when you hear something that sounds, I wouldn't say when it has like those flaws that feel like they've been rehearsed and practiced and written, and it's like it's put in, it's in this song for a purpose. I feel like people connect on to that in a way that it feels textured. It feels like something that was like truly like worked on, and like, yeah, like,
And that's what's so beautiful about live music, right?
yeah.
It's what it's gonna be, Like I was attacked by an ant at my last gig. There was an ant just crawling on my stuff. And I kind of laughed about it because I was like, I don't even know. This ant was it was huge. Right. But you just gotta go with it. And people are like, oh my gosh, there's an ant. This one little kid came up and tried to like strum Kyle's guitar. We worked it into the bit. You know what I mean? It's just, I love the idea of running with what you've got,
Right.
because it makes it real. People want to see people. People want to watch people. That's why everybody watches reality TV shows. We just want to watch other people, right?
I remember there's a football game I was filming, and like sometimes the tripods, it's hard to like lock them all the way down. So if you like, you can see it like starting to like dip.
Oh,
And
no.
I was I had a sneeze going, and like we're live, and it's like you try to like hold it back, but eventually it's like there's sometimes you just can't fight it. You just have to sneeze. And
Yeah.
I'm trying. It's like I keep like I have like I'm holding the camera and I'm operating, and it's like I sneeze and I hear on the headset over on the headset. It's like, Neil, what was that? Like like your camera moved a lot, and I like said on like overhead. I was like, yeah, I just sneezed. And, and so like everyone in the booth was like just started like laughing about it. It's like sometimes you have to sneeze or
That's
like
just how it be sometimes.
there's like a wasp on like the camera. It's like I don't know, like I have to like I don't feel like comfortable right here. And it's like in those moments, it's like you said, there's like an ant crawling on you. It's like
We live for those moments.
process. The ants being there was part of what happened that day.
The child trying to break Kyle's guitar was part of it, you know?
Right. So yeah, where can people find your music?
Okay, so I have an Instagram. Instagram is probably where I'm most active. It's ET_music for my music. And then for EK, it's going to be EK.acoustic, I think is what that one is. Yeah. We're also on YouTube. I don't post on YouTube as much. I actually just posted one last week of me singing in church. It was such an amazing experience. That's a whole other story, but that's on there. I have a Facebook page now, Elaina Trent, the one and only. I really do think I'm the only. There's some Irish girl out there. She's pretty cool, but yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right. Well, this has been really good talking to you, and I hope to hear more from your music, you and Kyle. And yeah, look forward to hearing, what comes out of all of this, this quarantine and how you're channeling your emotions and all of that throughout this time.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time to interview me. I appreciate it. It's fun.
Sure. Hey, have a great day.
Yeah, you too, man.